we can ever help, you know our number. It's 355-2202 for District 2. And it's nice to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Peyton. And we'll make sure your telephone is always busy.
I know. In fact, on the way in, I think I got 3 more messages I wrote down for things I have to look up when I get back. So it's a good thing I was here.
Any free parking?
No.
Now ask him about a boat ticket, a dock ticket.
Oh, I haven't even been on the boat yet. They tell me it's beautiful though.
We all want to thank you, Peyton. And when you want to run for governor, I think you got a lot of people here who will support you.
I'm running from.
Did you hear what I just said?
Yes. Next time I'm running from.
From. Not to.
Not to. I thought they said you're running from, and I said yes, I'll do it. And then, little did I know.
What a great guy. I appreciate you all coming. I want to let you know, and some of you don't know, that we here at the Messenger Club invited everybody who was to come, and those candidates who are running, we invited everybody every way we could. We sent personal letters via the U.S. mail to everybody to come. We posted it on the blog. It's in our newspaper, which you all are welcome to take a copy of. That's the 2nd issue, and we will continue having issues, especially for those of you who don't have the internet. So you have now the CV Messenger, which is an open newspaper. Anybody who feels they want to write, there's a number. Anybody feels they have a comment, there's a number to contact. Anybody feels they have a complaint, there's a contact number. It's not mine. And in addition to which, we will be happy to post events for anybody, whether it's an anniversary or whatever. Just let us know and it'll appear in the issue. The next issue will be more voluminous. We have a lawyer who's going to write a legal column, and we have some other very astute writers who will be in the newspaper. Those of you who would like to help with the newspaper, just let us know. It is a bootstrap operation. It's an offshoot of what, 30 years ago I owned a third of 3 newspapers in Suffolk County, amongst which was the Smithtown Messenger, which was the oldest continuously published weekly newspaper in Suffolk County. I'd like to make 1 or 2 other opening statements, and then we'll move along. We have been videoing several meetings, and I want to make this announcement because we had a complaint after it was said that we could announce it. We are videoing, and I'll be also taping this meeting. The video is not good, and photographing it. The video is not limited to the publication just on our blog or on our webmail. It will be going on YouTube. Anybody who feels they don't want to be photographed, let us know. Move into a section. Most of the photographing is going to be up here where the candidates are. Occasionally we scan. However, we don't want to offend anybody, which it appears someone was offended, although we had permission. So I'm making it perfectly clear that we are videotaping and also taping. I also want to say, just as a follow-up to Peyton, I appreciate everybody who came here. I would think that everybody would want to have the opportunity to participate in one of our greatest freedoms, and that is the ability to vote in a free election. Having said that, it was planned to have two parts, which we will. One part, though, will be curtailed. We invited all the vice presidential candidates to come, and there would have been a debate with an impartial moderator, which I had made arrangements.
Yes.
And similar questions which would have been asked to everybody. For whatever reason, the only candidate for vice president who choose to come is John Gluzak. That being the case, I don't think John wants to debate an empty chair. That was done by an actor and it didn't go off very well. Those of you who've come, and I really did want to make a comment, in spite of what was on Mr. Israel's blog, I give you credit. John, I'm going to give you the mic, and since you're alone, you got to limit it to 3 hours. So, the mic is yours, and we want to know who's coming so we can make sure everybody has a chance to talk. And John, here's the mic, or take your own mic. And John will answer questions after he makes his presentation. Thank you, John.
I thank everybody for coming. I'm getting old. I want to thank everybody for coming. I was a vice president approximately for 11 months when Barbara Cornish quit. All right? What I did in the past was I was going around and I saw things that were wrong with the village. The things that were wrong with the village, the first part, was a fence fell down by the golf course. I, myself, Dominic, and John has put it up. Nobody supplied the ropes or ties, it was mine. The caution tape was mine. I told them I'd call the golf course owner, and they told me no, it belongs to Century Village. It took them about 5 weeks. Century Village got the fence done. Little to know with a surveyor that it belonged to the golf course. It cost us money. All right? Now, while driving on Borden Avenue, I noticed the hole. The hole was in the middle of the street. I went to Yuko, I told him. David Israel told me it's a sinkhole. They rule over Florida. I told him what kind of hole it was. All right, I worked in construction for 50 years. So this guy is telling me and I'm telling him. There was a contractor there at the beginning, he started doing the job. There was a hole in the pipe. I had to fix for him how to do it with concrete and wire mesh and everything else for approximately about $10,000. No, they got an engineer and everything else, it cost them $70,000. Okay? Now, by the reporter, there was a hole there. I myself moved the bike rack while the cops, the COP, was riding around. They looked at me. I'm pushing this bike rack over. It looks like I'm stealing it. They just kept going. I mean, I should have stole it because we got to buy one for the association. Well, anyway, I put it over the hole. I taped it all up. I barricaded. All right? 3 weeks later, I went there, it's still there. I went to Home Depot, I filled it myself for $14. All right? Never got paid for it. Next thing, when I got into the office, they needed 2 bathrooms, 2 toilet bowls. One was in the laundry that somebody kicked over, and the one in the guardhouse. I asked Ed Black about a plumber. Got the Yuko plumber, $585 to fix the guardhouse. I did 2 toilets, chair height, for $414. All right? So I did nothing really for Yuko, right? Now, in the future, because I could go on and on and on. Oh, the other thing, I got a meter that they couldn't look at because it was on the golf course. I called the golf course guy up, talked a little sense to him in, and asked him for permission to go in to measure the meter. and he gave it. What's wrong with talking to human beings? All right? They got offended because they didn't think of it. Next thing, the waterways. We're getting the water from the sewage plant, all that algae. The governor's allowing you money now to clean up this act. Why don't somebody put a requisition in for it or whatever? We're watering our grass with sewage water. All right, so people are getting sick and there's a lot of chemicals in it. All right, for the future, I'd like to establish a volunteer corps maybe. Like we had this old man, I shouldn't call him old man, a deceased man, Haskell, painting lines and everything else. We need striping all over. You come out of that temple on a Saturday, you see people crossing and dodging cars. There's no lines at all. You're worrying about a lawsuit about the roadway? Worry about somebody getting hit in a walkway that's not painted. We lose everything. Don't people think anymore? The other vice presidents that are running for vice president, what they scared to debate? We're not a mob, we're not a mafia. Take a look at us. All right, we're citizens of Century Village, just like everybody else, and we're entitled to talk and everything else. And people ain't scared. I mean, maybe this president was abused as a child, and he wants to abuse us. I don't know. But I don't think he's going to abuse me. I don't care if I win or lose. But I tell him where to go. And that's it. Yeah, you know. And the last thing that I want to say, if a candidate is going to run for office, let him be investigated. Let him pay $100 for financial and for criminal. And if he passes, we'll give it back to him. That's all I got to say. God bless you and thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for John? This is an open period. You may ask him whatever you feel,
I don't even...
except personal questions. His wife's here.
I was going to ask him for a date. All right.
Only if you go to casino.
John, what do you see as the priority in the village now?
Right now, you know, we have to worry about the people in the village. People, you know, everybody says it's easy, let's all get along. How are you going to get along if somebody don't talk to each other? I'll give you an example. Our association suffered a tragedy in the past 10 days. 2 people passed away, and the vice president's 18-month-old granddaughter had an aneurysm in the brain. Life is short. In Polish, they have a saying, za rok, za dzień, za chwilę. That means a year, a day, and a moment. And that's it. We're not here for long. So, you know, we got to try to help one another and not abuse one another. And the other thing I want to say, UCO should be open 2 shifts. You don't need 4 vice presidents in that office eating bagels and cookies. All right? What you need, 2 vice presidents in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Friday, come 12 o'clock, you close down and give the volunteers a long weekend. Not have it open from 4 o'clock from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And that's about it.
Hold on. We're going to pass the mic, identify yourself. No, we know that, but that's only a few of us. Say who you are.
The camera has to get it.
Do I have to?
Yes.
Jacobs, 170 Chatham Lane. Was he anybody, while you were in there, did anybody take advisement from him?
Oh, when I
Did
walked
you
in
tell
there,
him?
when I walked into the boardroom, forget about it. I said what I had to say, and I did advise them. And I advised them about fixing the pipe and everything else. And they think I'm a young snot or something.
And they never fixed it?
I'm only 72.
Just saying.
Maybe William will.
Does anybody else want to ask John a question? Speak up.
I got one.
Hold on.
Marvin's got one.
Identify yourself. No one in this room knows you.
I'm afraid I'll become a target.
The target? No kidding.
I have no question to ask John. I have a comment. I'll have some other comments for the other vice presidents, even though they're not here when we have an open session. I want to say I feel John is a man for the people. Very important. The people are the people who run the village, basically. We elect these officers to do what we want them to do. John is that kind of a guy. I don't have an intimate relationship with him. I'm not that friendly, but I know anything that he's done in the past, he's done for the village and reflected for the people in the village. And I urge you to vote for him for vice president.
There's one understatement I'd like to make about security. We have wonderful security now. The other day I come in, I got a transponder, car stops, the security guard got his feet on the table and pushes the button and let him in. Didn't even get up to see his, check his thing in there. My other idea is for security, they ought to have key boxes at certain points. When that rover goes around, you gotta punch in like a time clock that he was in that area. You know, you gotta think a little bit.
Good idea, definitely.
I'd like just a show of hands amongst our audience who are delegates. That's a wonderful showing, a wonderful showing. And those who are not delegates, talk to your delegate. Tell them what you feel. We have to have better communication. There was another question from John, I think it was from Neil.
Yeah, I think everybody can hear me. John, we all know the divisions that exist in the village between the administration and certain factions of the people that are living here. How do you intend to, to bring those factions together or deal with that issue of, being subjected to criticism and being ostracized?
A baseball bat.
You don't have to say that.
I wanted to get that out of there.
I'll give you a story. A lady walked into my office when I was vice president. All of a sudden, she was crying like a baby. I said, maybe she lost her husband or something. What happened, right? She says, these people are calling me ugly. I said, stop, you're not ugly. And this is a true story. She says, I'm not. And she got a little smirk on her face, right? I go to her and says, I could cure that for you. I ain't gonna pay for plastic surgery. But I told her, I says, she goes, how are you gonna cure that? She says, I told her, I'm gonna give you a baseball bat. The next son of a bitch that calls you ugly, you'll wrap him on the side of the face and say, you're ugly too.
Good job, John. If there are any other questions, feel free, or else. Hold on, there's this lady lady in the back.
No, man in the back.
Man in the back.
Irving. It was Irving.
Oh, I thought you had to leave us. Let me jump up and give you the mic. And introduce yourself, Mr. Finn.
Move up to the front. Please move up.
My name is Herb Finkelstein. I live in Greenbrier area. I'm also a member of the executive board. I'm also a member of the security committee. John and I had a conversation a couple of days ago. He called my home. Correct, John?
Yes, sir.
And John and I have had a good rapport since John became vice president and after. A lot of the things he says and does, I happen to agree with. Some things I don't, but most I do. But I'll tell you something about the security. He's right. There were people just sitting there and letting people in. The security committee, the last meeting, I brought up that we have to observe. So we're making the security committee, instead of doing the reports and reading them at the security meeting and not knowing what's truth and not, We're going to have people observe, go out to the gates, not talk to the guards, not tell them how to do their job, but to observe how they're doing their job. What they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. We will then, each person will give a report for what they saw. That will be visual. That will probably start sometime within the next 2 weeks. There are 2 gates. They will be checked in the morning, in the evening. The clubhouse will be reviewed, as well as Hastings. We want to see what they're doing and how they're doing it. We also want to check on the rovers to make sure that they're doing their job. Now, there are those black dots that the rover stops and has to check, I think they have a computer that picks up when they stop and mark that they've been there. So they aren't like the keys that you're talking about. They do have it. They have 2 at the office of UCO. They have at the swimming pools. Those dots are there. So they are doing it. My problem is, I don't want to just count on the dots. I don't want to know that the guy was there. I want to know what he did when he got there. What did he look at? What is he observing? How is he observing? That's what we have to find out. So we're going to do what we're supposed to do. We're not just sitting in the security meeting and accepting what the reports are saying. But I agree with John.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Do the patrol have any special instructions of spending time in the guardhouses? Because I've seen, and I know from other places, that the patrol, for some reason, the guy in patrol goes in and he stays there and they talk because he's bored.
And he leaves the lights
Dan,
on.
excuse me, when the candidates finish, we can have a general discussion. I do want to make excuse me, I just want to make a remark that as far as I see in this room, and I could be corrected, anybody raise your hand, Herb Finkelstein, who just stood up, is probably the only current, maybe I'm wrong, officer, executive board member who has attended this meeting.
Thank you.
I said I'm wrong. Whoever else, could you stand up? Oh, I'm sorry, this guy here, I don't recognize him. A member of the club. Thank you. I want to move on.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'd like to say one more thing about security, which I didn't mention, which I think I should get credit for. I was responsible for handing out a petition and won to close that gate at night from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Okay?
Herb confirms it.
I mentioned one more thing to the security committee. We're paying security. Why don't that guy get up on the meeting and make his report? I had Major Jeff one time say that he agreed with it, a lieutenant agreed with it, Ed Black didn't agree with it. Okay? That's number 2.
Thank you, John. I don't want to cut you off.
You better not cut me off. I'm going to be a vice president.
I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of your wife.
I got a back.
John, on both of those issues, I said I agreed with you.
Yes.
Thank you. There's a question. Raise your hand. Tell you. Stand up. Who are you? Our photographer is having trouble seeing short people.
Yeah, but 13 states they wanted me. Hey, John, how about getting that visitors lane moved much faster with the security? You got them backed up. I said, Okeechobee and know where that happens.
What are you going to do? That's how they work.
Well,
You pay cheap, you get cheap.
people don't call the person in, so let them go around and let them come around. Why should everybody be backed up?
Why don't you go and tell Ed Black that?
Well,
He's in charge of security right now, not John Sluzak.
it's security.
Yeah, go
All right. All right. Let's stay on target here. John, we appreciate you. I think you have a tremendous support here. Everybody tell your fellow delegates, neighbors, friends. I am now going to do this in the best order I know, as it's written on written. without any alphabetical order. So the first candidate on the sheet is Susie Barnes. And Susie Barnes, did she show up? Oh.
David said no.
The second. Christy Amore. Christy, are you here? No. The next one on the list is Abe Malowski. Is Abe Malowski here? The next one is George Patel. Is George Patel here?
Usually in every meeting.
And guess who the next one is? One of the fastest dealing people here in Century Village. A professional card shark that you'll see her every day up in the room. Miss Eileen Perlman. No, come here. You can't get away with that. You can't get away with that. You're not going to win the prize if you don't say a few words.
Speech.
She'll tell you how to play blackjack.
No, I don't do blackjack, only poker. My name's Eileen Perlman.
When are you free?
Oh, I'm very expensive, not free. Okay. My name is Eileen Perlman, like I said. I'm in the village since 1991. I own since '84. Really?
Yeah.
To the mic, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't hear.
Okay. I always thought I had a loud enough voice that I don't even need a
That's
mic.
only upstairs in the card room.
I've been president of my building for 22 years. Nobody ever wants the job, and I guess I'm always going to be stuck with it till the day I die. We have a pretty good building. We don't have any problems.
Try the other one.
What's the matter? Still no good? Still can't hear me?
Try this one.
You know what happened? My battery just died. I don't know whether I'm talking loud or not.
No, we'll let you know.
Another one with me.
Talk loud.
Okay, I'll talk this way into the mic. Okay. As far as what I've done for the village, truthfully, minor things. I was active in the in UCO for a while. When Dave got crazy, I couldn't take it anymore, so. But I did start, I don't know how many of you know about the 100-year-old centenarian party that we have every single year. I started that. I said, we're Century Village, we have residents, at that time we had 17 residents that were over 100 years old.
Oh my God.
And we never did anything for them. So I suggested it. The last president, I think it was under Dave Lowenstein, George Lowenstein's administration. I think we started that, and I was active in it for about 4 or 5 years, and then due to circumstances, I resigned. I was also on the library committee, and when I finally could not take the way things were being done anymore, I just said I've had enough, and plus I had a lot of personal problems. I have a sister who's had like 7 heart attacks in 1 year, and she's my life, so I always have to be available for her. I do know that I want to get active again. I want to see things done different. I feel, you know, in the United States, it's a democratic country. You have a Republican Party, you have a Democratic Party. They don't always agree, but they're allowed to talk. They go to Congress now is all Republican. It doesn't mean the president doesn't still want to go through and, you know, give his advice and see what he can get done and whatever. And also, the situation with term limits, with no term limits, that's ridiculous. I was against it from the beginning. I never voted for it, and I'm against it to this day. In Roosevelt's administration, they tried that. He had 2 terms. He did a 3rd term. That was the end of it. No more. They went back to 2 terms. And that's what we have to go back to. We have to go back to 2 terms. At that point, right now, with only term limits, why should anybody want to run for president or vice president or whatever? Because it doesn't make sense. If we had term limits, and now the term was up for the administration that's here, there are plenty of capable people in this village. I don't care what Dave says, what Black says, what anybody else says. There are plenty of capable people in this village that could put us back on track and do things right. We would not have the roadways the way they are today if it was done properly. A one-page contract, no signature, nobody checking it. I don't want to rehash old situations. But I definitely want to see change. I want to see things being done in a democratic manner and not, what do you call a guy who wants to run everything and doesn't let anybody else. Dictatorial situation. Exactly. And if you say something against him, he has something rotten to say. I was one of the first people he called a dissident because I said something he didn't like. And that is ridiculous.
I was first.
Yes, son. Right.
Don't take the priority.
All right. I will not take it away from you. But I think this is something that must be changed, and hopefully there will be enough people to vote for the little change in administration with the people, the positions that we have available. Thank you.
She also wants to announce that tomorrow afternoon they're short one hand. We have a sign-up sheet. If you need to get into a mahjong game before you leave your name, your phone number. If they're short poker like crazy. Plenty for ping pong. Does anybody want to ask this lovely lady any questions? The room is silent.
Okay.
You did a wonderful job.
Wish you luck.
Let's support this lady. She showed up. The next one is Jackie Carlin. Is Jackie Carlin here? Not here. The next one is a gentleman who belongs to the same club I do, but I can't tell you that's why you should vote for him. Take your hat off, Howie Silver, and come up front. Now, you know that Howie Silver, up for a long time, had was the only one to have a distinction to get fired from his high-paying job. So, Howie, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Yes, I was the one that was fired. And David Israel at the golf hearing, because I signed a petition to have him removed. He came over to me as I was sitting down, and I was taking pictures at the golf presentation, or the time they were voting for the golf course, and he whispered in my ears, "You're fired." I was fired from the Wi-Fi committee, and I knew more about computers than he did. Well, he knows how to go on YouTube and look things up. Well, I'm not going to tell you my background. You'll read it in the Yuko paper, which is coming out. I wear a couple of hats. I'm the photographer for the Yuko paper, and you're going to see a lot of my pictures this month in the paper. Also, you read my article about in the last Yuko Reporter, I put an article about the volunteer luncheon, or breakfast, what you call it. And this month I have a rebuttal. Next month I will rebut that I was not qualified to write anything about the food. I went to school for food for 4 years. I was a butcher for 32 years, advising people what to do. I had my own business for 2 years, and I think I was more qualified. Oh, I also went on 25 cruises, and I ate more than she ever ate. If a duck waddles, that's the person. Other than that, I was a vice president for 3 years. I've been on the executive board for 8 years, and what goes on at the executive board is a shame. And I hope, even if I don't get elected, the people that do get elected ask questions. A half-hour executive board meeting. 3 meetings in a row. A half-hour executive board meeting. What a shame. Thank you.
Thank you, Howie. Hold on. Hold on 1 second.
Any questions?
This is a question period. No recipes, okay? No recipes. You want a recipe, see them on your own. You want to know how to butcher a side of chicken, a beef, side of chicken, not much. Beef. See Howie. Okay, who has some questions for Howie? Okay, 1 second, please.
I see that you're taking pictures for the Yuko reporter, but what about Ralph, his name is? I mean, what's his the relationship?
Okay, Ken Graff is a professional photographer. He's also very, very knowledgeable on computers, which has helped the Yuko reporter a long way. He is not political in any way. I know you might think he is, but if it wasn't for Ken going through the pictures, editing the pictures, and also helped the Yuko reporter a long way in the modeling. He is a gentleman. He's very good for the reporter. He is non-political. He don't care one way or the other who is running or what they're doing. He's only interested in that the Yuko reporter runs right and we come out with a beautiful paper.
The two of you.
The two of us do the pictures.
Okay.
If I'm not at the affair, Ken is at the affair. Like you're going to have the dinner for the officers that's coming up in March, and I would advise you, if you didn't sign up to go to that dinner, do. It's going to be catered by a fantastic company, the same company that did the Centennial dinner, and the food is going to be exceptional. It's not going to be a salad, a tuna fish salad, a whitefish salad, an egg salad, a little, the bagels were small. They were so small, I couldn't see that bagel. It was outrageous. And I also want you to know, listen to this, you might not know this. The people that catered it was not the school, culinary school. It was a teacher who taught at the culinary school, had his own business. He also had the students wear the school shirts. He paid for that. And we paid some amount of money, close to $4,000, for salads that we would eat at breakfast time.
There's another question on the floor, so don't get off. I just wanted to make a comment and it brought it to my mind. I'm not trying to interrupt you.
Oh, they had lots. That was the most expensive item.
No, with the little bagels. For those of you who are candidates, I looked at what was published in Yuko Reporter last year. It's hardly informative. So in the next issue of the Century Village Messenger, which I urge you all to take, each candidate will have his or her picture with a decent amount of space to write what you like. So don't forget that. You want to respond?
Yes.
Okay.
We just went to press on the Yuko Reporter, and this paper gave 4 pages to everybody. It came out the best. You're going to see, you're going to be proud of it. Every candidate has their picture, their bio underneath.
They cut mine out.
No, they didn't cut you out. You're on the front page. The front page has all the vice presidents, and then the next 3 pages are all the candidates with their picture and their bios. It really came out terrific. You're going to be proud of this paper. That is not, I know that a lot of people don't like, maybe the people that run it or whatever, but it is, I have to say, at times I do speak up, I put my voice in there what I don't like, and Marilyn there always did too, and I wish she was back at the paper.
She got fired too.
Thank you for that information. Hold on, Howie, you're not done. I just want to say that in the last paper, that wasn't there, and this office still stands. In the meantime, Mr. Shafton here has been waiting patiently to answer a question.
I'm sorry, but my voice was taken by cancer. Here's a statement. Eileen Perlman and Howie Silver are people that do things for the good of the village. I know Howie for a number of years. I was vice president of Negro for 5.5 years, and the man has always been 100% for the people in the village. And the same thing with Eileen.
Thank you for your comments. I'd like to now move ahead. You did a good job. Deliver me 8 pounds. Howie, I need a chunt. Send over a chunt.
The holidays are coming up.
In Century Village, how big of a chunt can you have? Okay. The next candidate, maybe you know, maybe you don't know. Her name is Mrs. Esther Satowski.
Howie, did Joy Vestal draw a mustache and a beard on me? Okay.
Sadie did though.
Sadie did, yeah. Okay. Someone will ask me what I did for the village. The answer is nothing officially, since I'm not allowed to do anything for the village. That is per statement by David Israel. I will never allow that woman to be on a committee. All the committee chairmen have said they have never received my volunteer application, so what can I tell you? Screw it. I'll do what else I want for the village. I have my own blog. I've been involved in the malcontent movement. And what you see is what you get. I know no tricks. I say what I feel, I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. What I see is the priority in this village is to get it back on track. We are totally off track. We are spending money we do not have. We are spending money we will not have in the future. We have no process, no procedure in anything that's done here. We have no administration as set forward years ago. Everything is done from the top here and dictated down to the bottom. We have half-hour executive board meetings because the only people on the executive board are yes men, shills for David. We have no discussion, we have no disagreement, we have no dissension, we have nothing. We have nothing here. And if you look at what's been going on, I hope I'm not insulting anyone, but what can I tell you? This is the way I feel. We have a sign that people have been bragging about. There's, correct me if I'm wrong, $14,000 in the budget for beautification, out of which the sign comes. And yet, on the IFI, you know, that secret stuff that we're not allowed to get, Jerry's not allowed to get because the poor guy is married to me. So that's the marriage penalty for him. But I have good friends who send all this secret stuff to me. The IFI says that fence, that sign is going to cost $44,000 plus, and it is not overlaid in gold. Sorry, folks. $44,000 plus. Where are we going to get the difference between the 14 and the 44? It's very easy. There's a slush fund. All the money is now in one fund. So who the hell knows what's been going and coming? Ed Black loves this slush fund. David Israel loves this slush fund. We have what I thought was $160,000 spent. You see the resident pool? You know how long that sign is up? Eva says it's coming along a pace. It's coming along at a good pace. It'll be open for the next season. 160,000, 120 came from the Hastings budget, where we were supposed to put in a new lift or elevator, or whatever they're calling it, depends on the day of the week. And 40,000, I'm not sure where she got from, we'll probably end up paying for that at some point. And then this morning, I was told by a gentleman who said that Howie O'Brien told him that the real cost of the pool, including the plantings and the fence and everything else, is not 160,000, but, please hold on to your seats, I don't want anyone to fall, $250,000. $250,000. Okay?
Where is this money coming from?
Slush fund.
How much is in there, the slush fund that they have?
All the, or whatever, or we'll be paying for increased prices. Don't worry, WPRF will get their money back, not a problem. As Eva continues to give us resort design. We have nobody watching over our money here. Do we want to go bankrupt? I don't. This is my home. This is my only home. I don't have a summer home and a winter home and a spring home and a vacation home, and I don't go on cruises. This is my home. And I want it to be the best that it could be. And I want it to be a home that has compassion for people as well. And not throw people out or under the bus when they get to the point where they have some problems. We need to work with people here. We need to work with all types of people. And again, if we have process and procedure, if we use the principles of management, this is a business. This is an $8 million business. David Israel had no experience in budget. Ed Black had no experience in running a budget like that. I worked in a school where we had multi-million-dollar budgets. I know what it means to raise money, to find money, to do prioritization, to know what we can spend, what we can't spend. I know how to get the last drop out of people. I got to tell you, when those textbook people, reps, left my office, they were sweating because of the free books that I insisted they give me. We need professional management, and not the ones that we pay, but we need people who know what to do. We don't have it now, people. Whether you vote for me or other people that you know that can do this job, that can speak up and stand up to the abuse that they'll get when we raise hell at the meetings and we don't have any more half-hour executive board meetings, please do so. Please tell your delegates to do so. And please tell your delegates to get there early on the day of elections, since alternates are planning to come in and vote and stay. Oh, I'll talk to you later.
It was caught last year, but not anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, please, Dan.
It's a correction. It's not $7 million or $8 million. It's a $15 million business because they control the insurance, which is about $5 million, and they control also WPRF, another $3 million. All this is in their control. It's $15 million business.
My bad. I thank you.
You could give them an idea how to raise money. Sell cookies to your grandkids.
John, they got to be kosher. Anybody else?
I want a big round of applause. And I want to move on to the next, Myron Cohn. Myron Cohn? Oh, no, it says no, it says Myron Cohn. It's Milton Cohn. They made a mistake. Okay, Milton Cohn. Not here. The next one is Marcia, we call her Marcy, Schoenholt. And here she is.
My name is Marcella.
Over here, it says Mar.
I want to help. I do not want to make waves. I know things have to be done. I hope to be part of it to make it be done. And with that, I'm going to turn over to the next person because Esther has said it all. Thank you. Any questions? Gee, look at this. I stunned the room.
I gotta tell you, Liddington's Gettysburg Address was very short. You must be on the same page.
Yes.
Okay. The next person is Myron Silverman. Myron Silverman, going once, going twice, not here. The next person may be here. I think I saw him. Jerry Koff. Where is Jerry Koff? Here comes Jerry Koff. Here's the mic, Jerry. Keep it under 2 hours.
Most of you people know me. I've been around quite a while. I've been active in most of the clubs. I've started the maintenance club. I started the President's Umbrella Club. And the whole function of that was always to educate people on how they can work in their association, how they can get the right repairmen, things of this type. David hates the idea, so what did he do? He has a poor guy, once a week, or once a month rather, he'll hold a maintenance meeting with 10 people. He's not allowed to bring in any vendors. He's not allowed to give them any information. Everything has to come from David. That has to stop. But there's a bigger problem we have. Isn't it amazing? Every election we have, David has all his people coming in. The odds of that are nil. I spoke to Susan Booker. He says it's impossible. And one thing they do that nobody wants to stand up and stop. After the votes are tabulated, one person goes in a room alone for a so-called final tabulation. And this has been going on for 4 years. That's why he always has his people winning. And it's up to you people to stop it. If you don't stop it, we got a lot of fine people here looking to run and help the village. We'll get the same old bag of people that are there now.
Right.
So it's really up to you. You know, please vote for me. That's all I have to say. Anybody has questions? Yes?
You were also vice president. You didn't
Oh, I was
mention.
vice president for a couple of years. I was also in my association. I was president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and I don't know, cheap bottle cook and washer. Yeah, I can't say it. And, you know, as I said, anybody has any other questions, I'll gladly answer. I'm having a meeting tomorrow, by the way, at 10 o'clock. I think you'll find it interesting. But please vote for me, and please vote for the people that are on a slate that are our people. Because they don't have any axe to grind with David, working for him. And that may be the only way you can control him. Because on the executive board, if you turn around and you say no, what's he going to do? And usually in the delegate assembly, no will carry over there too. And that's what we need. We need fighters. Thank you.
Jerry, people may have questions for you. However, after I just heard your resume, I've come to a conclusion. You can't seem to keep a job. I mean, how many jobs you can, you just keep jumping around.
Yeah, the only problem is I've kept jobs longer than you have, and I've done a lot for the village, as is contested by my history. Thank you.
He seems to be a little upset. Unfortunately, he doesn't know my background, so I'm not going to get involved with him. I have a job for the last 54 years, and I have kept the same job.
Okay, next.
So,
Who's next?
who's next?
You know, Ruth hasn't spoken yet.
I'm afraid. Okay, Dot Lowenstein. Oh, Dot intended to come. Unfortunately, she's ill. A great deal of you know what she's done for the village, and although let's show that round of applause. Okay, and the next person on the list, Ruth Grossman. I am leaving. That's the one.
Hello, hello. Okay. My name is Ruth Grossman. Yes.
To the mic.
Hello, hello. Hello. My name is Ruth Grossman. most of you know me. I've lived in the village since 2007. I would like to be on the executive board. I feel a lot of changes have to be made. I feel we shouldn't rubber stamp everything that David says. I think new ideas, new blood, fresh ideas, and new things to do, and not rubber stamp, yes, yes, yes. That's one of the problems in the village. The board likes what the executive board likes what the president board says, the president board likes what David Israel says, and everything gets stamped. No one says no. We need to say no. Therefore, I would like you to vote for me.
You're not off the hook yet, you know. I heard 14 people here want to ask you a question. Hold on. The next person is John Hess. John Hess? John Hess, not here. Jean Comas. Jean Comas. Come to the mic, Jean.
Come on down.
Sit down. Stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up, sit down.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jean Comas. You can hear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, talk a little closer.
Okay. I'm resident of Chatham E, and I'm treasurer now for the past 3 years. This is my 4th year. I am once again running for the position on the executive board of UCO, where currently there are 10 positions to fill. I did not make it last time, but hope to in this year's elections. I voted a high in December 2006 in Chatham E, but did not get involved in my association business until I took over the treasury the end of 2011, when the current treasurer no longer wanted to do it. I previously owned 2 homes in Long Island, New York, but had no idea what was expected in owning a condo. I am very independent, frugal, completely honest, and a responsible person. I was married for 32 years and left of my own accord, and it took me 8 years to get my divorce. Wow. And that was 2002. I do not like to pay any other person's debts. Instilled in me are my parents' beliefs that if you cannot afford it, then you wait until you can. Plastic credit cards were unthinkable. You cut costs when things are not necessary and do without. I discovered that we had a unit in my association when I became treasurer that was 8 years delinquent, and we were all paying for that. These are the kind of things you learn when you do get involved with your associations. I had problems with my president because he was a good old country boy and did not, better read my notes because I can't. He's friends with a lot of the condo owners, so everything is verbal, nothing is written or in black and white, and I didn't know half of the time what was going on and what was handled. What I did was, I had 3 major problems which I solved on my own, but I did give him the information when I took care of it. I want to get my foot in the door so that I can experience what goes on at meetings and have a voice in what can be done. I do not like corruption in any way. I am also not a follower. I do have minutes of all meetings and I'm very interested. I am not a supporter of the Messenger Club. If Ed and the group were popular, they would have been voted in during the last elections, and you cannot say there was corruption there because you need to prove it. I also do not like the childish name-calling and insults thrown around. David needs to control the meetings and not allow the constant disruptions by certain people who need to stop.
That's bullshit.
Okay, All right, you can.
Hold it.
Any questions now, you can. Go ahead.
You can't interrupt her, let her finish.
No, I'm done. I'm
She's finished.
I have a question.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm not sure if I can recall all of the mistruths that was said by you now, Gene, but as far as the last election was concerned, there were irregularities. We did prove that there were irregularities. We forced Marilyn and David to change certain things, to discount certain votes, and in order to prove the other irregularities, we needed the original copies of the ballots, and we have been denied those copies from time immemorial until the present day and continuing well into the future. As far as David Israel controlling the meetings, it is his responsibility to act as a neutral chair. That is Robert's Rules of Order. He is not supposed to stand up there, spittle flying, and shout at the people who are standing by the mic. If he has something personal to say that is partisan on one side or the other, he needs to come down. He can use the lift if he can't make it. Take the lift, come down, and take his chances to speak at the mic. And if he's limited to 2 minutes by his own order, then at 2 minutes, what's her face, Marshall? Let her bang that gavel too that she enjoys doing. Before you make statements, you need to know the truth.
No, he needs to control the meeting, and he does not have to voice his opinion in that, and he should not.
But he does. He does.
Just a second. This is a question and answer period. This lady is entitled to say what she wants to say. I just want to take umbrage at one thing. You don't have to like my club. Okay, when you say what you said about the club, that doesn't count. You have to say, Ed, you did this. Just saying it doesn't mean anything. I don't want this to be back and forth. You're invited here, and you get the same respect of everybody else. However, you may not like this club, but this is the club that has accomplished a lot of things, including having this open forum, which you don't do. This is the club that when the original budget came up, and they said it's going to be $17, I said Wellington A will never pay $17. This is the club who said turn down the budget. It's too much. It's at least $6 too much. And we turned down the budget in January, and instead of an increase, there was a decrease of over $5. So you don't have to like us, but you have to recognize that we've done a great deal for this village.
I did not say I didn't like, I just said I was not a member of the Messenger Club.
Everybody who comes here, this is an
I've
open
been to
meeting.
more than one meeting here. I have been here.
Well, that's good.
Order.
Okay. Let's not get into semantics,
Question.
Gene.
Question
This
is-
is an open door policy.
Question.
Is this a question?
A question.
Go ahead.
Yes. You said something towards the end that you don't like the people who interrupt the meetings. Now, if you can elaborate, what do you call?
I did not say
No.
I do not like.
Oh, whatever.
I just said that it should be controlled.
Oh, control. The people, now what is the people, certain people all the time object or they say something, is that interruption?
No, but many of our meetings end with people just getting up and leaving because the same people are down there and the same situation happens all the time. You can say something once and get it through to the people. No, you can't. Yes, you can. You do not have to bicker.
Hold it. That's not the issue here. Howie,
I need the mic.
you do. No, but everybody has to hear him. He lost his hearing, his voice as well.
I noticed that you were on the budget committee. What qualifications do you have in accounting to be on the budget committee? And how did you get appointed? I know there are much more qualified people in this audience here that are accountants and not on the budget committee.
All right, did they volunteer? That's all I did. I
We all
volunteered.
volunteered. I'm asking you a question what background do you have for budget?
Well, I am reasonably educated, so I can see on a piece of paper what needs to be done, how much things cost. I volunteered for the Finance Committee. I happen to like Howard. I've known him for the 8 years I've been here. He's an honest person. I volunteered and I was accepted. I don't know who picked who and who volunteered.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Wait, she wants Mr. Grossman volunteered to do the financials. Right. To do financials with 2 other CPAs, right? Wait a minute.
One was Dorothy, who was the retired treasurer.
So what?
Well, she was.
Let her talk. And you know what David said? He said, yes, come in and do it, I'm the boss. Ed went in on Monday, from the Friday, he went on Monday.
But it's not
I changed my mind.
Look, I asked Howard one question. I said, do you have to do what Dave Israel says? Do you take orders from him? And he told me no.
Don't you go to the meetings? Don't you go to the meetings?
Yes, I do go to the meeting.
He does what he feels like, he said.
When people ask Howard a question, he directs them to David. He defers them to David. So if you believe Howard, you're a dummy.
hold on.
Excuse me, lady. See you outside.
I want to say one thing. Dorothy would like to talk, but I want to say one thing. Here, you said you're not a member. Here at the Messenger Club, everybody's welcome, and as far as I'm concerned, you're a member. Just come to the meeting.
I don't think this is, oh, maybe it is on. Jean, I have a question. It has to do with the sign and the rumors that are going around the village. I know there's $14,000 in the new budget for the sign on Okeechobee Boulevard. Yet the things that we hear is that the sign is quoted in the $40,000 range. So how do you feel about spending money of that nature if it's not already budgeted?
I don't see spending an extreme amount like that for a sign that's in an entranceway. I don't know what price the sign is, and I thought it was up to the beautification committee to
So it's the bid committee at this point.
All right, well, the bid committee. I haven't been to the bid committee meetings.
But that has nothing to do with anything. The question is, in theory, how do you feel about overspending on a line item in the budget? Any amount of money, if you have a $14,000 line item, how do you feel about spending $21,000 on a sign?
I don't. If it's a budget, it should be within a reasonable...
Well, to quantify reasonable if you could. I mean, do you figure 5%, 20%? I mean, give me an idea of what you feel.
No, less than what's budgeted if possible, but I am not on the beautification.
So you don't want to make any kind of a commitment as to how you feel?
I would like to get my foot in the door so that I can see what goes on there. I've been to many of the meetings.
You're next.
Any more questions?
No, and I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And you're more than welcome to come at any time. I just was made a special request, and lo and behold, the next person to speak is George Lowenstein.
First of all, Ed, I'd like to thank you for all your efforts in having the Messenger Club, giving us an opportunity to vent, to tell us what is wrong and what is right. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the past president of UCO for 4 years.
And the treasurer?
I'm sorry?
The treasurer.
Before that, I was a treasurer. It seems because I'm a CPA whatever organization I get involved in, they say, oh, you're a CPA, how about being the treasurer? So I start with the treasurer, and then I work my way up to the presidency. Anyway, during my term of office, we were coming back from the hurricanes, and we had to work to, number one, get our clubhouse back up, number two, get the theater working again for our people, and number three, getting Yuko's office rebuilt, which was down. Okay. I was also a recipient of a lawsuit from WPRF because I was advocating, based on the advice of our attorney, that we should only pay 30% of our normal monthly payment to WPRF because we couldn't use the full facilities here. Okay? He didn't like that. So, again, okay. Some of the things that I've accomplished while I was president, as I said, we rebuilt this whole place. Okay? Ushers. We used to pay ushers. Right, at the theater. We started under my administration an usher corps. And I remember fighting with WPRF to allow that because they claimed that volunteers would not be covered by their workman's comp insurance policy. And so we went through that and finally got the okay for that. So that saved quite a bit of money. Okay. There are many things that I instituted during those 4 years. I had some terrific officers with me. Okay. Dorothy was my treasurer. She's here. When we worked on the budget, we worked on the budget together. I, as president, knew everything that was going into the budget. And that's the way it really should be. Okay? The treasurer is an officer, but the buck stops with the president. So the president has to be knowledgeable. I felt that I was more of a people person because I was out about the village. When things were occurring that needed me attention, I was out there. With a water main break, I was out there helping direct traffic. We had hurricane here. We didn't have electricity. I know my unit was at least 13 days. We were over at the administration building giving out food, etc., and water, and so forth. I started CERT, which is a Community Emergency Response Team. I started that in Century Village. Okay? Ombudsman, right? We formed an ombudsman. The President's Club. I asked Jerry to lead a club of presidents to help them and to discuss various things that they had on their mind so they could pick each other's brains. I think that my meetings were pretty, I would say, were pretty quiet in most cases. I knew how to run a meeting. And the quickest way to keep people, to keep the noise level down, is when somebody raises their hand and speaks, you don't like what he says, you say, thank you, we'll certainly take it under advisement. Right. And that's it. Right. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to debate with them. That's not a place to do that. Okay? Question came up, the current budget. Okay? Ed and I and Dorothy wrote a letter suggesting that we would be available to help with the budget. Okay? We did not get a response to that letter, to that offer. So don't say we didn't ask to be on the budget committee. Yes, we did, formally. David kicked me off the operations committee. Operations committee takes care of the expenditures of WPRF as the oversight of WPRF and its budget. Okay? The president is the chairman when I was no longer president. The reason I was no longer president is because I was term limited. Right. And I thought that was the right thing. Okay? Because you needed some new ideas, not David's, but certainly some new ideas to help the people along. Right? We said, we voted to do away with Wi-Fi. So he's coming in through the back door now, okay?
That's what I got.
All right, which certainly is something we've got to be aware of. I don't know, it just gets me upset to see all this going on. And when I heard that the budget passed without a dissenting vote in the executive committee, I said, wait a minute, something is wrong. Because there were things that I saw in even the budget that passed, there was lack of information on that budget. And that should have certainly, one of the things that was not there was the fact that we have to pay income taxes, and there was no provision in the budget for the income taxes. And that's kind of an important thing, okay? If we asked a question, Howard would shake his hand, he'd shake his shoulders and say, I don't know.
I felt like it.
Okay? I felt, whatever it is, all right? That's a professional. I mean, I'm a CPA, and when somebody asks me a technical question on something I did, I will give them an answer, and not, I don't know. I did it. I should know why I did it, okay? All right, I felt like it, whatever. That's being flippant. You don't treat people that way. They ask a serious question, you give them a serious answer. I also served on the executive board, and I'd like to get back on it because I'd like to become part of the administration again. I think we need a change. Whoever else is coming aboard, we need that change. So I ask for your vote. I know my wife is also a candidate, and my wife has been running the library upstairs for as long as I know. She was also the editor of the newspaper while I was president. So she's been involved, and she ran for vice president and unfortunately lost in the prior election. So she wants to come on the executive board. And by the way, that's one chairman that David didn't fire, my wife. But, just a quick aside, when she gets the emails from David, I don't, but she does. And the other day, the real estate office had a collation outside, okay? And the night before, David sent out an email. So my wife wrote to David and said, how come you give so little notice when there's such an event? And he wrote back, he said, if you make one more comment, I'll take you off my list. Okay? I mean, he just can't take criticism. That's the whole point.
You think?
Right? So, yeah, I'll answer
Why
questions.
can't you say all these things at the meeting and let people hear what's happening?
Because
You want that on back, you
You
want
got
to
2
go back
minutes.
to what? But you should tell them at the meeting.
Because he won't allow, he'll say you're out of order.
Yeah, out of order. Sit
Out
down.
of order.
Out of order. That's his favorite little message. You're out of order. Okay? Now,
We can be well as water through there.
now, according to Robert rules, you can challenge the ruling of the chair with a 2/3 vote. All right? The next time that he calls me out of order, I intend to challenge his ruling.
Good.
Thank you, George. I don't want to cut you off. I just want to say, that's not here, but I got to tell you, we don't have a more willing volunteer when it comes to do anything.
Yes.
That, we want to deliver circulars, yeah. That, we want this. She's there all the time. And I believe she writes for the Condo News. So, I don't know why she's not in the Yugo Reporter, but I told her she's welcome to be in the Century Village Messenger.
Sandy took her place.
I want to move along.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for your
now Barack Obama is not here.
Good job.
Susan Imp. Susan Imp is not here. We try to reach her by phone. She did get the mail.
Susan who?
Can
Can I just say something about Susan?
Could I wait till everybody else has a chance to talk? We want to give everybody. We know Stu Richland is not here. He has authorized, it's been stamped, it went in, it was received, it went through all the prominent channels to have this woman here who has difficulty talking say a few words on his behalf. We allow substitutes here. So does baseball. So does basketball. So does football. So, having said that, the unknown speaker is taking the microphone.
I don't know, my teachers used to yell at me for talking too. Like, I always sat in the U row.
I'm sorry you have to leave so early.
Anyway, I received an email from Stuart Richland to just speak to him, and Phyllis, his wife, who used to be VP here, and the best that we have, begged me to make it clear to people that the only reason that they are not here is that they are still in California celebrating the bar mitzvah of their grandson, and they will be home actually sometime late tonight, tomorrow morning. Stu is a gentleman and a scholar. I can't speak highly enough about him. He is one of the cleverest writers I have ever come across, and you think that he's writing this just funny article or historical article, but if you pay attention, you just get all of those zings that are coming in, and they are directed at, I'm not even going to tell you, you know where they're going. But he would be a really great person to be elected to the executive board. So I'm speaking for him, and I'm telling you, vote for the guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah. You know, next time I'm going to let you talk for me. Okay, we just passed Stuart. Carol Sapetsky. Is there a Carol Sapetsky in this office? She didn't come today. In her place is her younger sister.
This is Carol Lynn. Hi, everybody. I just have a few things on notes so I would not screw up what I wanted to say. But I don't know if you read Dave's blog or not, but I read all 3 blogs first thing every morning. And you might have seen that Dave posted on his blog that he hoped that no serious candidate would attend this meeting today. And then he went on to explain his definition of serious candidates, which he describes as people who are experienced, intelligent, and have a track record of service to the community. But as I look around at the people who are running, I find that they all have these very qualities, and I also know that I meet those qualifications. So just to tell you about myself a little bit, I've lived in Century Village for 14 years. I was vice president of Chatham G for 2 years. I was president of Chatham G for either 8 or 10 years, I forget now, it's been so long. I've been the delegate for the building for 11 years. I was the treasurer for Century Village Computer Club for 4 years. I was president of the Computer Club for 6 years that I was elected president, but I also was the acting president for almost 2 years when our elected president had become ill. And I was on the executive board for 2 terms when George Lowenstein was our president. So I think I have a little bit of experience in the village, so I think I'm a serious candidate, and I am here because I would like to be on the executive board again. And I can't say anything more than what everybody else has said here today. We all feel the same way, and I can't talk any better than Esther can anyway, so. Anyway, so please vote for me.
Just a second, just a second.
I'm not going anywhere.
Mr. George Lowenstein has an accounting question to you.
No, I don't. But speaking of blogs, you didn't mention that you were the chair of the blog under my administration.
Yes, I was.
And that you allowed everybody, as long as they were civil in their language, you allowed everybody and didn't censor what was going on.
And you're right.
Okay?
I'd like to make a statement about that, too.
That's correct. George is right. And at that time, Dave Israel called me a Nazi, told me I belonged in Goebbels' army. I was a control freak. I was a liar. I've been on the end of his tirade, yes. And that was because there were two people who insisted on, after getting three letters from me, three very polite letters, telling them that they were breaking the rules and to please abide by the rules because, first of all, it wasn't a chat room and our rules were clearly posted, and one of the rules were we couldn't slander anybody on the blog. And that didn't matter who it was. You couldn't slander anybody. Even if it was my worst enemy, I wouldn't allow somebody to do that. After writing 3 letters and saying, please follow the rules, I really don't want to ban you, I finally had to ban them. And because I did that, I was a Nazi and I was everything wrong. But take a look at his blog. Who's not allowed to post on his blog? Anybody that disagrees with him. Look at the hands go up. Okay. Thank you very much. Sandy, you had a question. I saw your hand up.
This lady is a very modest lady.
Hold to the mic,
Mike, I gave you the mic.
Yeah, it's not working.
I gave you the mic.
It's working.
But everybody can hear me.
I heard.
For 6 straight years, she was the president of the computer club, and she had over 500 members, the biggest club in the village. And that shows that she's got experience.
Thank you for your comment. I want to move this along.
Thank you.
I think we're having a tremendous meeting here, and I'm not being prejudiced. Okay, Miss Marilyn Pomerantz. I'm going to bring you to Mike. Everybody face this way.
Sorry, folks, I'm having a problem with walking today. I think most of you know me. I'm Marilyn Pomerantz. I'm in Chatham Sea. I've been an owner here in Century Village since 1976.
Wow.
And moved here permanently in '94, but was here every single year for several months before that. Before I became president of Chatham Sea, my dad was for 14 years, and then I took over for 10 years. I also was a vice president. I was on the Chatham Federation board for 6 years. I've been a member of the CERTS team. I was on the social committee. And also I was, if you remember, a couple of years ago, I was the corresponding secretary for 2 years at UCO. My last position here as a volunteer was the UCO reporter. I was with the UCO reporter for 3 years plus 3 months. And the 3 months was my last position as advertising manager, which I got fired from because I opened up a big mouth. And sometimes I do have a big mouth.
No.
I'm a good listener rather than talking. Anyways, I think we need a change here in the village. And change is the big word. We need term limits and change. We need the bylaws changed. We need a new administration, because the administration under David Israel is for the I don't know what you want to call it for the garbage as far as I'm concerned. And being corresponding secretary, I was on every single committee as a corresponding secretary. And all I can say right now basically is vote for me. It's Marilyn Pomerantz, and I'm running for the executive board. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. And I want to say one thing. I don't think you really have a loud mouth because we have another candidate coming up. I'm not going to announce. Because you have to listen very, very closely because she talks so quietly. And that person, and by the way, is so active, you can't catch her sitting down. Whatever you ask her to do, she does. Ms. Olga Walkinston.
Thank you very much, Ed. That's great. My name is Olga Walkenstein, and I'm running for executive board. I'm not a brain surgeon, a rocket scientist, or even the smartest person in this room. But I have something that is extremely important to the residents of the village. I have common sense. Common sense that will make decisions that will benefit you, not decisions that are dumb and unnecessary. Now, how can we accomplish making sensible decisions? For one thing, you can start by having checks and balances. Checks and balances is an American system guaranteed by the Constitution. It is something we do not have in Century Village. The present administration is run as a dictatorship, and I'm running because I would like to see this change. I would like to see a balanced administration made up of people who have different opinions and are not afraid to speak out. We cannot continue with one person running the show. It's time for a change. It's time to vote for people who will fight for your interest. I'm one of those people. This is why you should vote for me. Thank you.
Does anybody have any question of Olga that she hasn't answered before in another venue? Is there a new question you'd like to ask her? We thank you, Olga. Let me see. Michael Raybar. Is Michael Raybar here? No. George, you spoke. Have I missed anybody who's a candidate? Herb. Oh, I'm sorry. Herb Finkelstein. You didn't sign in, Herb.
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
I just was not notified about this.
Well, I sent everybody a letter.
Not me.
Maybe the postman didn't like you, of course. Now we know why.
You're up for re-election?
Here is Herb Finkelstein.
Most of the people in here, I believe, know who I am. I've been on the executive board for 3 years. I was elected for 2, and then on the next election, I lost. I lost by a couple of votes, but since there were changes with the vice presidencies, there were 2 slots open, and I got elected. So I know what it is to win, and I know what it is to lose. But I want to tell you something. Century Village has a problem. And the problem is we have too much of this fighting, of this problem of one person hating another person. Hate doesn't do anything. All it does is kill the people who hate inside themselves. We need a harmonious situation in this village. We have to be civil. I disagree with a lot of people on a lot of issues, but I'm not disagreeable. I don't like some things, I say it. If I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. I'm very honest, I am not political. When I got elected to the executive board, I was put on a couple of committees. I was thrown off those committees because they didn't like or didn't feel that I was doing what was supposed to be their way. Their way. But guess what? I came back on the committees because Dorothy Tetro went out of her way to put me on the Finance Committee. Dom put me on the Bid Committee, and I got back in, and I did my job. Now, I've been on the executive board for a year, and we have a new election, and I'm running again because mine was a temporary. I was filling in. My qualifications are is I care. I care about the people. I tell you exactly, I don't take sides. Some things Mr. Israel likes and some things that I say he doesn't. Some things that Mr. Israel do, I like, and some things I don't like. But we are civil to each other. I make my statements to him. Matter of fact, funniest thing is yesterday, I don't read blogs. I haven't read a blog since all these blogs exist. There's 3 of them, I have not read one. Yesterday, Barbara Cornish came to me and said, "Did you read David's blog?" I said, "No, I didn't." And she said, "Well, your name is there." And I said, "It is?"
Thank you for allowing me the privilege to speak to you. Due to the President's holidays, the mail was late getting to my particular condo, and I was unable to attend the forum. My name is Milton Cohen. I am seeking the position on the executive board. I am sure most of you, like myself, attend the delegates' meetings in hopes to accomplish something new within the walls of the Century Village, only to leave the meetings angry at someone. I wonder myself what has happened here. If you have read my bio, you will see that I have the credentials for one of these positions on the executive board. What we have here is the Hatfields and the McCoys. How did we lose sight of the common goal for the betterment of the village and the people who reside here? Why do we have such disdain every time we're at these particular meetings? Why do we argue as much and fight as much as we do? Why is there sniping that's constantly going on? Why do we have people who make sexual gestures when they walk away from the microphones? This disturbs me greatly and should be curtailed. I am my own man, and I want to listen to both sides of the argument. I will make up my mind what I think is right and how it is. I won't be swayed by anybody or any group of people. I feel that we have a responsibility to the people of Century Village, and that we should take this responsibility, seriously if we're voted in. As a candidate, and hopefully a member of the executive board, I look forward to servicing the residents of Century Village with new and informative ideas. Bring us together with ability and answers the situation with cooler heads. There is no need for what has been happening in the past, What we need is to move forward and make sure that we handle ourselves in the proper manner. If an outside organization was to come in, or a group of people were to come in and see us, they would think we were a joke. I myself look forward to working very carefully with people on the executive board to make this particular board better and to make Century Village better. Remember, together we stand and will be stronger. When divided, we'll fall. I am my own man, and I have my own ideas and my own way of doing things. However, there is nothing I can't do with working with people, and nothing that I won't do for the betterment of the community in which I live. I wish to take this opportunity to thank Neil for making it possible for me to speak with you. Personal gains are not my thing, but the gains for the community is. I thank you once again for allowing me this privilege, and I look forward to working with you. Remember, vote for Milton Cohen for the executive board.
Hi, I'm Chris Armour. My past work experience was working as a facility specialist with the United States Postal Service. I worked in the Buildings Management Engineering Office, where I provided specifications and qualifications for facilities all throughout the United States. Prior to relocating here in Florida, Century Village, I served on a Board of Adjustments with the commissioners in Deerfield Beach. I have served on many homeowners association boards. Currently, Abbey Park Homeowners Association, and as a delegate here in Century Village, Berkshire K. I'm a member of Taste and See and the African American Cultural Association in Century Village. I actively partake in any activities that are in these associations. Although I moved to Century Village in 2014, I have observed that there is some discontent. I observed that the unity and interaction between the governing bodies are just about nil. I attended Temple University hoping to become a CPA. However, I changed to maintenance of facilities. However, if needed, I will assist our CPA in preparing accurate statements so that the residents of Century Village will be able to understand what is going on in their financial situation. By there, I mean Century Village situations. I have prepared many reports of financial statements to all of my organizations. I also belong to the Star and Crescent Investment Club for 10 plus years, where I had to submit reports to the government annually. Therefore, I most likely would be a very good person, a very good candidate to work on the financial reports of Century Village. I'm a committed person, and I stand up for what I think is right. I do not intend to be a member for more than one term. I believe in term limits to give others with new ideas a chance to assist Century Village in moving forward. Commingling of funds has never been presented or permitted in governmental accounting. They do not clearly state the true picture of each account. Therefore, I do not believe in commingling of any funds. I want to thank the Messenger Club for giving me this opportunity to express myself. Vote for me, and we, all of us together, will make Century Village an outstanding, proud community. We will listen and interact with one another for the good of the order.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to tell you something about myself, because I'm running for the executive board in the current election coming up in March. My name is Stu Richland, and I've been living in Century Village for 18 years. During that time, most of the time, my wife has been a vice president of Century Village, and it is through her involvement in Century Village that I became very aware of the inner workings of UCO and how they go about doing things. And experience, I feel that my contact and involvement through my wife has given me plenty of experience to understand how UCO is operating. I'd like to talk about first the newspaper at Century Village. If you read the top part of the Century Village newspaper, it says this newspaper is a UCO newspaper. Well, it really isn't. It is paid for by the people in Century Village, so it is our newspaper. In this recent article, or this recent newspaper, we have an article by our president who attacks all of the candidates that he feels could possibly rub him the wrong way, oppose his ideas. That was put in. Where is the idea of fair and balanced newspaper? It's like the New York Times is supposed to be all the news that's fit to print, not what you think is fit to print. I'd like to talk about the delegate assembly. Even though I have been in the last few times a voting delegate, because my wife asked me to take a place, and so I have had an opportunity to participate directly. When I retired from teaching in Palm Beach County, I decided that now was my opportunity to become involved in the affairs of Century Village. And so when nominations came up for the executive board, I decided to put my name in as a candidate. Nominations that I would serve in any committee where I could lend my expertise. I would prefer to be on the finance committee or the advisory board, where I could really make a contribution. However, I will serve on any committee in order to add my expertise in order to make Century Village a better place to live. And I will provide them with expertise that I have, knowledge, and I certainly will always have a well-balanced presentation on the issues. In addition, I'd like to make some suggestions that I feel that I would like to put forth to the administration. In the last series of delegate assembly meetings, many of the delegates seemed quite confused over the issues, especially dealing with the budget. The budget and the mechanics of developing a budget for many of our delegates is quite a confusing issue. And I would like to suggest, and I will promote this idea, that the vice presidents who are in charge of the various areas gather the voting delegates and sit down with them and present the details of these complicated issues so that they could take these ideas, this understanding, back to their supporters, back to their building people, and discuss it with them, and then get their ideas, and when they do come to the delegate assembly meetings, they would have a better idea of the complexities of many of the things that are going on in Century Village. And so when they do vote, they would vote from a much more educated point of view. And voting is another aspect that I'd like to see changed in Century Village. I think the implementation of an electronic method of voting would be the best way to go. Well, if we have electronic voting, and Dave Israel said he thought it was a great idea, and in this instance I really support him, and he said he would gather the information. I hope he does, because I think this is absolutely terrific, and it would resolve so much of the confusion that has been going on in the last 2 or 3 delegate assembly meetings. As far as the newspaper is concerned, I'd like to be on the newspaper committee. And the reason for that is that I feel that I would like to ensure the readers of the newspaper in Century Village, and almost everybody reads the newspaper because they have pet columns that they like, and that's fine. I don't want to change those. I just would like the scope to change. I would like more articles dealing with politics of the village, how politics of the village relate to the politics of the United States. There was one other aspect also that has bothered me in a series of the last issues, the letters to the editor. The letters to the editor have now become a very bland presentation by people who seem to be supportive of the administration, and I don't see any letters to the editor being published where they are critical of the administration, or at least asking questions about what the administration is doing. And I think this really is not what letters to the editor was all about. Because if you look at the archives, which is available to everybody, you will see that the letters to the editor really had some very strong viewpoints for and against many of the people who were running UCO. And so these are the areas that I'd like to get into. The other thing is that I would make sure, I would encourage those people who are on the dais to think seriously about what they say. Because the people who get up there to talk, many of them are elderly. It takes them a few minutes to put their thoughts together. They are intimidated by the microphone. Please be sympathetic. Do not holler at them. Do not brush them off. Allow them to have their point of view. Whether you agree with them or not, they have the courage to get up and make a statement. Whether you support it or not, it is only fair. They pay their dues. They are members of UCO. They are here. Give them an opportunity to say what they have to say. My job, if I'm elected, will ensure that those people who have not had a voice or fearful of speaking up, please see me, and I will make sure your issues will be presented to those who will make the decisions at UCO. Thank you very much.